Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 17 and Episode 18. As is the norm with all my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please to keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. The Walking Dead is back for its final 8 episodes, and is it just me or did anyone else find Episode 17 to be extremely underwhelming? I mean, Episode 16 ends on this huge cliffhanger with the life of the Oceansiders left to a coin flip to decide. And we also see the Commonwealth march into Hilltop and Alexandria, I believe, and put their banners over the sides and basically take over the characters' homes. And then episode 17 begins and Lance is not in Oceanside. Instead, he's like hunting Daryl and co through these random streets. And then we get a shootout and a car chase. And then we jump to the Commonwealth where we're watching protests take place. And I just kind of watched this opening and much of this episode thinking like, what the hell is going on? I felt really lost and disorientated. It reminded me of the latest season of Fear the Walking Dead, where an episode would end, and then you jump to the next episode, and like stuff would just happen off screen, and the next episode would be like in complete characters would be in completely different places, and you'd be watching it thinking, what the hell is going on? That's what this episode made me feel like. I was kind of watching it thinking, is there something I forgot that happened in episode 16? Like, have I forgotten something during the break of The Walking Dead? Because why are the characters in completely different places now? But obviously, you know, it looks like they're going to leave the cliffhanger, what happened to Oceanside, to be sorted in the next couple of episodes, for that to be revealed in the next couple of episodes where the characters do eventually go there. But it's kind of disappointing. I would just rather they begin where the cliffhanger left things in episode 16 and just, you know, start the episode with like a huge moment and we see what happens. But nope, it's just, yeah, a bit all over the place, really. Normally when The Walking Dead resumes, the season premieres or, you know, mid-season premieres or whatever you want to call this, second, third season premiere, normally they're quite memorable episodes, but there's honestly, like, nothing that I will remember for a long time about this episode. This episode isn't one that's going to live long in my memory because it's just so kind of average and so boring and such a, yeah, just an underwhelming way to resume The Walking Dead, in my opinion. So Daryl, Maggie, Annie, and Aaron spend much of the episode running away from Hornsby and his goons, and they hide in like a sewer, which happens to have like some weird underground camp in the sewer. And then Hornsby either finds them or is already camped there. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what is really going on in this setting. But anyway, the episode ends with Daryl taking Hornsby hostage. He puts a knife to his throat. And I'm hoping that episode 18 actually resolves this cliffhanger instead of making us wait 2-3 episodes to find out what happens. Yeah, there's not really much to the stuff with Hornsby and the rest of the characters in this episode, to be honest. I mean, the stuff that takes place at the Commonwealth is kind of marginally more interesting in my opinion, even if like the protests did feel kind of dragged out and just kind of not very realistic. Like the protests were all just like extras who are, you know, just on the streets going, give us Sebastian, and it didn't seem they were very like enthusiastic about it. I don't know, the protest just came off as being kind of lame and laughable. I was just watching it thinking, yeah, this is kind of a bit cringy, these scenes. And you know, there's also another scene where like the protesters march into like the government building where Pamela Milton is. And then Yumiko appears and she's like, will you please just leave and I'll keep you informed of what's happening. Please leave the building now. And they just all walk out. And I thought that was a bit underwhelming. I mean, if the protesters were that angry that they'd march into the government building, I don't think someone asking them politely to leave would work. But I don't know, maybe The Walking Dead wants to show us that the people of the Commonwealth, the ordinary people, they're the nice people and didn't want to, you know, have them be presented as like savages. I don't know. But I was just thinking, yeah, this is kind of a very strange scene. They march in, they get asked to leave and then go. I was kind of thinking, what was the point in that? So basically, the people of the Commonwealth are pissed because of the article that Connie published in the previous episode, which detailed what Sebastian was doing and sending, you know, poor people to this house, risking their lives to try and get money, which, you know, would go to him and the rest of the higher ups at the Commonwealth. So the people are pissed. They want Sebastian's head, and Carol decides to look for Sebastian to try and calm things down, to try and find him. And Negan ends up helping her on this mission. He sneaks into the Commonwealth and helps her. And I did like the scene where Negan and Sebastian came face to face. I did think that was funny because, you know, Sebastian being the way he is, he was like, do you know who I am, to Negan? And Negan's just like, excuse me, do you know who I am? I'm Negan. I used to run the Saviors. You better don't talk to me like that. You know, I liked that scene. I like Negan putting him in his place. And, you know, I don't think Negan is going to be the type of person to take shit from the Commonwealth. You know, I think he's going to be like Daryl. I don't think he's going to be a fan of how the place is run. And I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of trouble he stirs up at the Commonwealth. So Carol does succeed in her mission to get Sebastian to Pamela, and I think Negan is actually like arrested by a Commonwealth soldier when he's trying to sneak Sebastian out, but Carol manages to get him there on her own. And Pamela gives him a good old slap round the face when she sees him, which the dude does completely deserve. But I still think part of me thinks that Pamela may have neglected him as a child, especially, when he turns the cow and he's like, I told you I shouldn't have come back. And I don't know, maybe Sebastian is just being like a whiny baby here. But I did theorize in a previous video that he was perhaps maybe neglected as a child. And that Pamela, from what we've seen so far, Pamela doesn't seem to have much time for him. The two barely speak, and he's her son. And I guess you could say, well, he's an adult. How much time does he need from his mum? He shouldn't be that needy. But still, part of me still thinks that there's something more to this guy, and that, he may have been neglected as a kid, and that's why he came out the way he is. Well, and neglected emotionally. He certainly had, was spoiled, but neglected emotionally. Or maybe I'm just trying to find a way to defend this guy. Maybe he is just a complete douchebag. I don't know. So what else happens in this episode? Well, Carol asks Pamela to help kill Hornsby and help take Hornsby down. And also, Mercer says to Rosita, if you ever need help escaping, if you and Coco ever need help escaping, I've got your back. And I think that's something which is going to come up down the line, later down the line. Mercer's going to help these two get out of the Commonwealth when things go to shit. We also do spend some time with these two, and there are walkers making their way to the Commonwealth, and these two go to basically take care of the walkers and kill them. And there's this really dumb scene where one of the Commonwealth soldiers radios Mercer, and he's like, help, my Jeep has flipped over, help. And it's like, it's on fucking like flat ground. How did he manage to flip his bloody Jeep over? It's not as if he's going up a hill. It's just like on a flat piece of grass, and somehow he's flipped the Jeep over. Like, how bad of a driver is this dude? And then, like, I think one of them escapes, and the other guy, he's just standing there as like these walkers coming towards him, just standing there in the same spot firing, and he gets ripped apart and dies. And it's like, you could have just walked back. You could have just run into the vast empty space behind you instead of just standing there and getting eaten. Like, it's just a really bad scene all around. And then you get Rosita, who's on like the Jeep, one of the Jeeps on the back, manning the machine gun. And instead of like firing at the walkers who are grabbing this guy, tearing this guy apart, she's like firing off into the distance. Like why are you firing like a mile away when this dude's here in front of you getting ripped to pieces? Like, shoot the walkers near him. Or why not at least put this dude down? Like, her and Mercer, just stand there and let this dude be ripped apart. Like, shoot a dude in the fucking head. Put him down. It was such a weird scene. Really weirdly edited scene and put together scene. I don't know what they were thinking when they did that. Apart from that, not much else happens. I mean, we do see the protesters get gassed at the end of the episode, which again is supposed to show, how bad the Commonwealth is and how little they care about their people. And we also have like this weird subplot where Jerry is trying to like hide Gracie, RJ, and Judith from fake Steph and like that other guy who was the plumber, the pretend plumber, when Stephanie, that whole subplot with the fake Stephanie, they're chasing them down through the street, and that was just kind of okay. Don't really have much to say about that. I don't really have much to say about this episode in general. That's just how I feel about this whole episode. I just very underwhelming for the Walking Dead coming back. Very underwhelming episode for what is the first of the last 8 episodes. It's just very slow. Not a lot happened. Very weird decision, not to just pick up on the cliffhanger that ended things last third of the season. Yeah, kind of disappointing. I just watched this episode and I was like, oh, okay. Is that it? I did kind of wonder after watching this episode that maybe The Walking Dead is just running out of steam. Maybe I just don't care about it how I used to, because that's just how underwhelming this episode was. But thankfully, episode 18 is a lot better. So let's talk about episode 18. Episode 18, now that's more like it, The Walking Dead. This was a far better episode than episode 17, in my opinion. It was exciting to watch from start to finish, and that death at the end of the episode, I did not see that coming. This is the first time in a long time that The Walking Dead has genuinely shocked me with a character death. I did not expect that to happen, and that's a major deviation from the comics. So I'm going to start this portion of the video by talking about that major death first, and I will be talking about the end of the comics as well. So if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your final warning. If you don't want any spoilers, then maybe don't watch this bit, okay? At the end of episode 18, Sebastian dies. Yes, the same Sebastian who in the comics is pretty much the final antagonist. He's the dude who kills Rick Grimes, and it's Rick's death that is the catalyst which causes a revolution and causes the Commonwealth to change, and then Sebastian spends the rest of his life in prison, and now we've completely deviated from that. Well, I mean, I didn't think Sebastian was going to ever kill Rick in the TV show. I mean, can you imagine if after being away from the show for a couple of years, Rick returns only to be killed by Sebastian. There'd be fucking riots. But I did think that Sebastian was going to live to the end of the show, and I did think that perhaps he was going to kill someone big in Rick's place, and a lot of people have been theorizing, for a long time now, who that would be, who he would potentially kill. So I did not see this dude's death coming at all, and it's the first time I've been shocked watching The Walking Dead in a long time. And with Sebastian dying, for me, kind of all bets are off now. I don't know what to expect from the next 6 episodes, and that's kind of exciting, although obviously the characters who have got spin-off shows we know are going to live. So yeah, nice one, AMC. Good job announcing the spin-offs before the show ends. But anyway, yeah, it's exciting to come, just to see what's going to come, because I don't have any idea now what they're going to do for the rest of this Commonwealth arc. I genuinely have no idea where the show's going to go. So I think Sebastian's death was a good decision in that respect, but part of me is also kind of in two minds about it at the moment, because I am going to miss this guy, because I think he plays the villain role really well, and I was kind of looking forward to seeing just how far his character would take it, because at the end of this episode, after Max plays his tape and he realizes that basically everyone in the Commonwealth hates him and he's got no chance of kind of redeeming himself, I was kind of thinking, what kind of messed up shit is this dude going to do in the next couple of episodes, as retaliation and to get revenge? And I was just looking forward to seeing him lose his shit, and I wanted to see how far he would go. But unfortunately, he's dead. So I'm in kind of two minds about it. I like the surprise aspect of it, but I'm a bit disappointed as well, because I liked him. I liked his character. I liked the actor who played him, and I was looking forward to seeing, how evil he would become. And now we're never going to see that. But in terms of how the death played out, very poetic. I like how he died. I love the fact that everyone was just watching him die, and no one wanted to help him. And I like the fact that it also went on for so long, because he's struggling with this walker for ages. And part of me was thinking, we're going to get the Walking Dead cliche thing is going to happen, where a character comes in at the last minute and saves him. Because how many times have we seen characters with walkers on top of them? Oh no! And then someone shoots them and they're saved. I was expecting that to happen, but it doesn't happen. Instead it just feels like this guy is tortured for ages, trying to fight off this walker for what seems like forever, like an eternity, and he eventually dies because no one wants to help him. And very poetic, very a karmic death. I did like that. I have come across some people criticizing this death, saying that, it doesn't make sense that Sebastian died from one walker. Why couldn't he just kill the walker? Why didn't he fight him off? But come on, it's fucking Sebastian. This dude is not a survivor. He gets everyone else to do everything for him. He's had Mercer as his personal bodyguard. So for me, it makes sense that this dude would struggle with one walker and die. He's not a fighter. He's a weakling. So I don't particularly have a problem with him dying from one walker. I don't have a problem with it at all, how it played out. And prior to Sebastian's death, I did think that perhaps this dude might have the capacity to change, especially when he makes his speech at the Founders Day celebration, because instead of, reading the written speech that was prepared to him by his mother, he actually gives a speech from the heart, and he kind of feels like he takes Max's words on board. So he takes on what Max said to him previously, earlier on in the episode, and he kind of looks at Max as if to say, yep, I've listened to what you've said, I'm gonna try and do better. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way Max is going to play the tape recording of him now. There's no way she's going to play this tape recording of him now after he's, looked like he may change, but she still did it. And I didn't see that coming either. Speaking of the recording, basically what happens is that earlier on in this episode, Max visits Sebastian, and she brings in a tape recorder, has a conversation with him, which he believes is a private conversation, but she records the whole thing. And in the conversation, Sebastian basically says that the Commonwealth is rigged. He says that the system is broken, the poor will remain poor whilst the richer will get rich. The whole thing's rigged, and my mum even rigs the lottery. And there's a lot of truth to what he says, and even though the people of the Commonwealth would be pissed hearing this truth, I think if he had just stopped there, he might have been okay. If he had just stopped there and said, the system's rigged, it's all fake, poor people are going to suffer. Yeah, the people would have been pissed hearing that, but I think eventually they would have come to respect this dude, because he's told them the truth, or they would have respected the fact that the truth's come out either way. But the problem is that he just carries on. Instead of stopping there, he then goes into saying, it's all the poor people's fault because they buy into this system. It's their fault. They're stupid. And, at that point, you've basically lost the respect of everyone. If he had just said, yep, the system's rigged, it's all bollocks, it's all, it's all just a nonsense system, it's all crap, it's all false, blah, 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 I think people might eventually have come to respect him hearing that tape. But he shoots himself in the foot when he blames the poor people, when he blames the people of the Commonwealth and says it's basically their fault, because he's so close. He's this close to making an epiphany, he knows the system is rigged, and he's so close to just breaking through, but then he reverts back to blaming it on everyone else rather than taking some responsibility himself. And I think if he had taken some responsibility You know, and if he had just said, come out and said, yeah, it's rigged, and you know, it's my fault, it's Pamela's fault, it's the rich people's fault, I think the people of the Commonwealth may have respected him eventually. But yeah, he kind of shot himself in the foot, and that's why, you know, the regular people of the Commonwealth just watched him die, because he said it's their fault, and that's karma coming back to bite him in the arse, or bite him in the neck, wherever the walker bit him. So that's my thoughts on Sebastian dying, but what happens during the rest of the episode? So let's go back to the start, because this episode does pick up where episode 17 left things off. It doesn't do an episode 17 and just ignore the previous cliffhanger. It does resume with Daryl taking Lance Hornsby hostage, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Pamela and what's his name, Mercer, appear in like this underground location, wherever the fuck they are. And I was just thinking, how did they get there? Like, they were literally at the Commonwealth like 10 minutes ago. How have they now found this underground location and appeared in just the nick of time to stop Daryl, you know, killing Hornsby? I didn't like that. A very weird start to the episode again, and it reminded me of Fear the Walking Dead, where characters just kind of teleport to different places. I was just thinking, yeah, there's no way they could have got there that quickly. And there's no way they could have found them. So I thought that was a very, very odd start to the episode. But basically, Daryl is convinced not to kill Hornsby because Pamela wants Hornsby alive so that he can take the fall for all Sebastian's shit. And she agrees that, you know, if they do that, she'll let them go their separate ways. She'll let them go back to, Alexandria or Hilltop and help them repair the places. And there comes a point in the episode where the characters, the protagonists, do split up into different groups, and one's going to the Oceanside, I believe. I don't know why they're going to Oceanside, but one's going to Oceanside, and the others are going to Alexandria, I believe. And obviously, they don't know what's to expect. They don't know that potentially, it looks like, I'm guessing the people of Oceanside, most of them are dead, and you know, the other group won't know that Alexandria has been taken over by Hornsby soldiers, or I presume are still there. Not everyone, however, does want to leave the Commonwealth. There are a couple of characters who want to stay there. For example, Ezekiel wants to stay. And I completely understand why, because this dude has a purpose at the Commonwealth. I mean, the Commonwealth saved his life, and he has a purpose there. You know, he has his animals to look after. He has his free hospital which he runs, which helps people who can't afford it. So I understand why he wouldn't just up and leave, and I respect him for making that decision. Negan doesn't want to leave because they have healthcare there and they can help the baby. But Annie's like, no, we need to go because, you know, we've got our own group, and I think she's going to die. I think Annie's going to die. You know, I think she will die, and potentially maybe Negan's kid may die, because I just don't see Negan going off with Maggie in a spin-off show if his wife is still alive. I think she will get the same fate that Glenn did. Well, she won't be bashed in with a baseball bat, but I think she, like Maggie's husband, you know, like Glenn, will die as well. Either that, or they get kidnapped, or the kids get kidnapped, or something. But yeah, I can see it ending badly for her, because, you know, I think her not deciding to stay at the Commonwealth is a very short-sighted and silly decision, in my opinion. I understand she wants to help her people, but you've got to look after your baby first. That's just my opinion anyway. Judith wants to stay and fight at the Commonwealth, and she kind of accuses Daryl of like abandoning everyone and wanting to run away. And, you know, Daryl gets very upset by that, and the two kind of have an argument about it. And I liked that. I liked the fact that Daryl in this episode struggles to be a dad. And, you know, and he even says to Carol, you know, what would Rick do? Like, I'm really struggling in this situation. And that just makes it feel a bit more realistic, like Judith's and Daryl's relationship, because kids do argue with their parents or their guardians or whatever. And yeah, it just adds a bit more to their relationship. I like that. You know, I liked that it isn't always kind of sunshine and rainbows between these two, and that, you know, these two sometimes do have disagreements like all families do. So yeah, I did like that. And I do respect Judith for taking the stance that she does, because I think, you know, what would Rick do? Would he just abandon these people? I don't think he would. I mean, maybe the Rick of the early seasons would, because he was a man back then who only really cared about his people and his family. But the Rick, you know, after the fight with the Saviors, the Rick that was in season 9 wanted to help as many people as he could. And I don't think if he were in that situation, he would just run away, you know, and basically say, yep, it's the Commonwealth's problem, it's not my problem, bye. I don't think he would do that. So I think Judith is, you know, doing right by her father by making a point to Daryl that they have to stay and that they should stay. Lydia decides to leave with Elijah, I believe. I'm not sure which direction they're heading, Oceanside or Alexandria, I can't remember. But I think that these two decide to leave. And it feels like these two have been paired up together in this relationship just because the writers don't really know what to do with them. Like, Lydia hasn't really done much since the Whisperer arc ended. Season 9, she was fantastic. And Season 10, she didn't play as big a role as she did in 9, but she still, you know, still played a significant part. Since Season 11 began, Lydia doesn't do anything. She has like a couple of lines of dialogue every other episode. And it's a real shame because she's a good actress. Like, I really liked the part she played in the Whisperer War, but they don't know what to do with her. And it's the same with Elijah. Like, Elijah's character just hasn't happened. Like, they've tried to make Elijah a thing. They tried to make his character, oh, he's the dude with the mask, oh, he's, part of Maggie's group. They just haven't done anything with him. Like, he might as well have just died when the rest of the characters did, when they were fighting the Reapers. Like, these two characters, the writers do not know what to do with them. And it feels like there's a lot of that on The Walking Dead. Like, The Walking Dead has this problem of introducing characters, and when the characters are introduced, they play a really big part initially, and then a couple of seasons pass, and it's like, what do we do with these people? They're just kind of then just are like relegated to the background, to furniture. They don't do anything. It has a real problem with giving its characters like consistent storylines, and I feel Lydia is, unfortunately a victim of this. Like, I think she's going to die, or her or Elijah, either both of them or one of them will die, because they don't know what to do with these characters, unfortunately. And I kind of feel the same way about Magna's entire group of characters as well, because, they played a big part in helping with the time skip that came in season 9 and kind of introducing us to like the new world of The Walking Dead, the big changes that happened since the Savior War. But they don't really do anything now. Like, again, I know Yumiko, she was pregnant or whatever and had to leave, and obviously Connie left, and then returned. But yeah, even then, the characters that, since they've come back, they don't do a lot. Yumiko has a couple of lines now and then. Connie has been very disappointing in my mind since she returned, because in season 9, I loved her and Daryl's relationship, her and Daryl going on these adventures, fighting the Whisperers. Now she's just a journalist who doesn't really do a lot, just has a couple of scenes. She might as well not even be on the show. Magna, what does she do? Nothing. Again, gets a line or two, like an episode. So yeah, I just feel like The Walking Dead, like I say, introduces a lot of characters, makes them out to be really important, and then a year later it's like, shit, what do we do with these people? Don't worry, we'll just introduce some new characters, forget about them. Same with Princess as well. What does Princess do on the show anymore, Yeah, they're just not good at managing its cast of characters, in my opinion. It just can't manage its big cast well. Anyway, moving on, Shira and her friend Roman, I believe his name is, the balding dude who's with her. They're like bloody hired killers in this episode. There's like a part of the episode where they walk to like an area where these workers are, the workers who are building stuff for the celebration or the Founders' Day, and then they pull out silenced pistols and kill them all. And I did not expect that. I don't know why, I just didn't see these two really as like much of a danger. I mean, when I watched episode 17 and these two were following Jerry and following the kids, I didn't really feel like tense or nervous because I hadn't seen anything beforehand, that made me feel like these two are dangerous characters. Like, obviously I know they worked for Hornsby and Shira, did a bit of spy work pretending to be someone else for Hornsby, but just because, you're good at pretending to be someone else doesn't mean you're like a trained contract killer. So yeah, I didn't really see these two as a danger in episode 17. But then in this episode, they're like putting out guns, silenced guns, and killing people. And I was like, whoa, okay, where did this come from? So I'm guessing these two will, play a part in being kind of like the secondary antagonists. And in the last couple of episodes, I'm guessing they'll both die, but I'm guessing they will try and kill some of the main characters and will try and be a threat to our characters in the last couple of episodes. But yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. I just thought these two were generic goons. I didn't see them as hired assassins. And the reason why they kill these workers is because they want them to come back to life. So they don't shoot them in the head, they shoot them in the chest, so they come back to life so that they can cause panic on the streets of the Commonwealth. And I guess they do that so that they can then help Lance escape. I mean, we don't see that happen in this episode, but I'm guessing to cause a distraction so they can get Lance out. I don't know. But I guess we'll find out in the next couple of episodes. Anyway, one last thing before I wrap this video up. Is it just me, or did the walkers in this episode seem a bit quicker than they were before? Maybe it's just because they're fresh, I don't know. But they seem to like lunge at the people of the Commonwealth, a lot quicker than normal. Normal walkers are just kind of slow walking around. But they almost seem like they tried to like jump on people. And obviously episode 19 is titled Variant. And, we're going to see Variant walkers in that episode. But I haven't watched it yet. I know it's out on AMC Plus, so I will watch it soon. So I don't know if it ties into that, or maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. Maybe they were just normal walkers, and maybe I'm just thinking, because they're variants in the future, these might be variants. I don't know. But they did seem to be a bit quicker, in my opinion, than normal walkers. I don't know. So that's episode 18. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did 17. I think this is what I want to see from The Walking Dead. This was a much more exciting episode than the one that came before it. Only time will tell if killing Sebastian was the right thing to do for the story. I'm hoping it doesn't, I'm hoping that isn't the case of this just being a death for shock value. I'm hoping that they do have something interesting planned, for the future of the show. And that is, it can kind of prove that his death is the right decision, but we'll just have to wait and see. But that's it. So yeah, let me know your thoughts below. What do you think of these two episodes? Let me know in the comments below. And I haven't watched episode 19 Variant yet. I know it's out on AMC Plus. I will get around to watching it soon. And hopefully, that the review of that episode will be up later this week as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below in the comments. And I shall see you all very soon. Take care. Goodbye.